The recent blacklisting of the South African Music Industry Council, widely known as Samic, by Gayton Mckenzie's Department of Sport, Arts, and Culture, has sent ripples across South Africa's creative sector, shaking the confidence of artists, officials, and stakeholders alike. For many who have followed the evolution of South Africa's music industry, this moment feels like both a culmination of long-standing frustrations and the beginning of a new chapter filled with uncertainties. The decision to blacklist Samic was not taken lightly and stems from a serious breakdown of accountability, governance, and financial management. It reflects deeper challenges in how cultural bodies interact with government departments, how they manage funds allocated for national projects, and how corruption can undermine even institutions meant to uplift artists and communities. Before diving into the recent developments, it is important to step back and look at how Samic came to hold such a prominent role in the first place, why it mattered to so many people, and how its collapse is being interpreted today. Samic, the South African Music Industry Council, was formed with a bold vision to unify, support, and regulate the country's vibrant and diverse music industry. The council positioned itself as a central body that could liaise with government, coordinate with musicians and other stakeholders, and ensure that the music sector flourished economically and socially. Its formation was welcomed by artists, producers, managers, and policymakers because it promised to streamline various fragmented parts of the industry and give musicians a stronger collective voice. Over time, Samic became a recognized recipient of public funds meant to support initiatives such as elective conferences, strategic meetings, and sectoral projects. These funds, coming from departments such as the Department of Sport, Arts, and Culture, as well as the Department of Trade and Industry, were intended to build capacity and create opportunities for those working in music. However, as years passed, concerns began to rise about the internal workings of Samic. Allegations of mismanagement, infighting among leadership, and a lack of transparency around finances slowly eroded public confidence in the organization. By 2021, these issues began to reach a boiling point. In 2021, Samic received more than $1 million in tranches from the Department of Sport, Arts, and Culture to fund its elective conference. The conference, which did take place at the Birchwood Hotel in Boksburg, was meant to consolidate leadership, create a roadmap for the future, and strengthen governance structures. However, insiders have revealed that while the conference happened, much of the money was siphoned off or stolen by members within Samic. This left the organization unable to produce the necessary financial reports required by the department to account for how the funds were spent. According to a letter dated April 30 from the department, Samic repeatedly failed to submit the required narrative and expenditure reports, despite numerous reminders from officials. This failure triggered the department to formally list Samic as a defaulter in its records. The memorandum of agreement between the department and Samic had clearly outlined the conditions for disbursement of funds, including a requirement for narrative and expenditure reports backed by invoices and receipts. With no reports forthcoming, the department had little choice but to blacklist the council, essentially cutting off all future funding and recognition. It is worth noting that this is not the first time Samic found itself in trouble. The Department of Trade and Industry previously terminated its relationship with the council after Samic failed to account for R500,000. Furthermore, official records show that Samic was deregistered due to non-compliance, meaning that as an organization it ceased to legally exist, adding yet another layer of complication to the unfolding saga. Former Samic President Eugene Thethwa, who had been removed from the council by the time the funds were disbursed, distanced himself from the scandal. He confirmed that the monies were indeed paid but maintained that he was no longer in charge and had even raised the matter with former DTI Minister Ibrahim Patel, to no avail. Questions directed to current Samic President Vusi Lu were deflected to Romeo Ketsamani, who was described as the key figure behind Samic during the period in question. Ketsamani, however, did not respond to requests for comment. The implications of this blacklisting are significant. For the music industry, it creates a vacuum in leadership and coordination. Without a recognized council to interface with government and organize industry stakeholders, South African musicians may find it harder to advocate for their interests, secure funding, and organize effectively. For the Department of Sport, Arts, and Culture, this situation underscores the ongoing struggle of ensuring that public funds allocated to the creative sector are managed responsibly and transparently. Gayton Mckenzie, known for his no-nonsense and decisive leadership style, is likely to face both praise and criticism. On one hand, blacklisting Samic sends a clear message that mismanagement and failure to comply with reporting standards will not be tolerated. On the other hand, critics may argue that cutting off Samic entirely risks leaving artists unsupported and that more should be done to establish new, accountable structures quickly. Looking forward, there are a number of possible scenarios. The department could move to establish or support a new music industry council, one built on stronger governance principles and with tighter oversight measures. Alternatively, existing music associations and unions might step into the gap left by Samic, creating a more decentralized model of representation. Artists and stakeholders might also organize independently to demand a seat at the table in discussions about the future of the industry. At a broader level, this situation raises pressing questions about how cultural institutions in South Africa are governed, how public money is allocated and monitored, and how corruption can corrode the very organizations meant to uplift society. The collapse of Samic may serve as a cautionary tale for other sectors, emphasizing the importance of strong governance, accountability, and transparency. This unfolding situation invites reflection on the relationship between government and the arts in South Africa. Historically, arts and culture have played a vital role in nation building, social cohesion, and economic growth. Mismanagement within key organizations undermines these goals and hurts the very communities that rely on them. The hope now is that lessons will be learned and that future initiatives will be built on a foundation of trust, integrity, and good governance. If this happens, it could lead to a stronger, more resilient music sector in the long run, even if the short-term pain is deep and disorienting. If you found this deep dive informative, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss any of our future uploads. We want to hear what you think about this situation. Do you agree with the blacklisting? What do you think should happen next for South African musicians? Drop your thoughts, insights, and opinions in the comments below. We look forward to reading and engaging with all of you guys.